Hello, I'm Bjorn, and you know what that means. And you know what this thumbnail means. That's right, people, I just shadow dropped Deadlands Season 2. This is only introducing the characters. Don't get your hopes up, alright? The first episode's still a little ways away. I don't know, a couple weeks. But, figured I'd throw y'all a bone. I have been asked about this frickin' series more than almost anything else I do. More than the Get Out guys, more than, I don't know, Justice League Dark. Yeah, people don't care. They want more Deadlands, which is weird because, I'll be honest, this is my least popular writing project. But it's got a cult following now of people who watch my stuff really like Deadlands. So, look guys, I'm going to throw y'all a bone. I give the people what they want, and the people want more Deadlands. I'm a merciful god, alright? So, Deadlands Season 2, what can you expect? Who are the characters? What is the plot? Who are the villains? These are questions I will mostly answer. Alright, let's just get started. What is this new season about? Well, those who keep up with my stuff, watch the State of Bjorns, I've talked about this. It's not changed, I just haven't gotten around to it until now. This season is called Deadlands City o' Gloom. The City o' Gloom is in Utah. I think it's basically supposed to be Salt Lake City. So the City of Gloom is sort of a, it's the main city that capitalized on the discovery of Ghost Rock. For those who've seen Season 1, you know the deal is with Ghost Rock. It's this sort of fantastical, mythical version of coal that's used for all sorts of new technology, basically bridging the gap for all kinds of new steampunk technology to pop up in the alternative version of the West that Deadlands presents. And the City of Gloom is the hub for all of it. It's become this city, steampunk metropolis in the middle of Utah. And it's the #1 hub where all the railroads run through. All of the Ghost Rock comes there. All of the money in the West is flowing right through here. And as y'all might have guessed, it's a little bit of a weird place. However, in my version of the City of Gloom, I'm actually deviating a little from the source material here. Not crazy, but basically what I did with Season 1. Not that anyone even knows the source material at all. I do, so. My City of Gloom is basically like a capitalist super city. Something more akin to a cyberpunk genre. It's ruled by basically a corporation, and it's almost powerful enough to be its own nation state. It's almost a city-state. The City of Gloom is wealthy, maybe even more wealthy than the U.S. government, and its founder and the, sort of god daddy of all of the corporations that have taken root inside of the City of Gloom is none other than Gloom Co., which was invented by Seymour Gloom. And Seymour Gloom built the city from the ground up. He made it what it is, and he was the first one to really capitalize on Ghost Rock. And he's not actually dead yet. He's still alive. Ghost Rock wasn't discovered that long ago. So Seymour Gloom is like the wealthiest guy in the West. And he has sort of taken control of the City of Gloom. And he's so powerful, and he has so many resources, and the West is so untamed that he sort of operates as his own thing. He has his own motivations, and he has his own interests, and he's extremely powerful. And as such, conditions in the City of Gloom aren't necessarily great for the workers of Gloom Co., as you might imagine. They work in sweltering conditions in the steam and the muck. For those who don't know about like the 1800s and like the idea of like the original muckrakers, journalists who basically went into working stations and like reported on the conditions that workers were being kept in. I mean, people complain about their job is horrible now. Dude, go research what it was like to work back in this time period. Horrible conditions, no workers' rights at all. All of this stuff is really terrible. So anyway, as y'all might imagine, it's amplified when the corporation's owner also has complete control of the city, its laws, and stuff like that. And also, there's all this like weird sort of technology. Ghost Rock is really dangerous to work with. I implied that a little bit in Season 1. We'll get a really good look at how it is now. So the streets of the City of Gloom are filled with steam workers, like molten metal works, steel mills, strange technological hubs, and Ghost Rock refineries. And the workers down in these conditions feel like they have no options. They feel like they're basically enslaved. And among them, you have certain... I can't say the word because YouTube's a no-no word, but angry people who are lashing out at their government with violence. We all know what I'm talking about. The word starts with a T and ends with ists. We all know what I'm talking about here. It's very similar to grassroots movements like the IRA, or more contemporary examples like the Mafia, things like that, or more time period accurate representations of it. There was a bunch of organizations like this, sort of a mix between bandits and freedom fighters, and they're hidden amongst the workers of the city, and they're slowly kind of building up power. Think like Peaky Blinders a little bit. Now, our season is going to be a little different. Clearly, it's not picking up exactly where season 1 left off. I kind of always imagined this Deadlands show being an anthology with characters coming and going and plot points sort of being carried on, but not in a traditional way. We're not going to focus on the Wendigos from season 1 or anything like that. This season will very, very clearly focus in on the City of Gloom. However, most of the original cast is going to return. I think a few exceptions. A few characters won't return. But most of the original cast is going to return, although there's been some time. I think, and I'll have to look at my notes, it's been a 3 or 4 year time skip between season 1 and 2. Maybe it's closer to 2 or 3 years. I'll have to look. I don't have that information in front of me right now. And in that time, a lot has changed for our characters, clearly. And a lot of them are in very different spots, and we found them. The way this season is going to be structured is also different than season 1. Season 1 was a very linear show. It was sort of a there and back again quest. Season 2 is also structured like an anthology, in a way. I don't know what you call these, but each episode is from a different character's POV. The episode starts with one character, and as it ends, we end with that character somehow encountering the character the next episode will be about. And then the episode basically picks up from that character through to the next episode. So each episode you're seeing either a different perspective on the same events, or a different perspective taking over the events going forward. So you will never follow the same character twice. And so the show is interesting in a way. You'll have to kind of guess on your toes, who's it going to be next? Who's taking over? And sometimes it's obvious, and sometimes it's not so obvious. And that might mean we might follow the villains for an episode. We might follow some random character you didn't realize was important for an episode until, oh my god, their relevance to the plot is suddenly very clear. I think you see where I'm going with this. It's a very different structure. It's a fun structure, and it really keeps things interesting. Especially in such a vibrant world filled with such unique characters as Deadlands. So, without further ado, that's sort of the plot. I didn't really talk much about what's going to happen, but I sort of set the stage, the setting, like I did with Season 1. And I've talked a little bit about what's sort of going on. And then let's talk about the characters. And through the characters, you can maybe get a view of the plot more clearly. The first character is a new character. His name is Michael Binnigan. He's obviously Irish, an Irish immigrant. He is a steel worker in the steel mills owned by Gloomco on the outskirts of the City of Gloom. And he also happens to be the leader of the group I mentioned earlier, whose name I can't say. He is actively working to kill the head of Gloomco, Seymour Gloom. And he's trying to basically perform a coup in the city, and he's been slowly placing his agents in this company. And unfortunately for him, at the start of the script, the company has become vaguely aware that his organization exists due to some basically they had a rogue group of their own men right before the events of the show carried out an attack without their permission and without the group's agreement, and now the whole city is aware that they exist, and the city is cracking down on them. Gloomco is trying everything they can to weed them out, and now those who were underground slowly building their power are on the defensive, being weeded out. But these people are convinced that there's more to Gloomco than meets the eye, that they have some ulterior motive, and that something unusual is going on. And it's because they've been slowly gaining intel on the company. I won't go into detail about what's going on in Gloomco, but obviously this is Deadlands. Nothing is exactly as it seems. And the strange sort of technology that Gloomco works in, they might have some ulterior motives. I will confirm that the first episode does follow this character, and he will be one of the main characters in the season. And he has a bunch of tertiary characters who I'm not going to get into here. He has a wife who's very important to the plot. There's some other members of his organization, but they're not the main character, right? They're not this guy. Michael is the main character of this season, I would argue. Sort of like John Weber was last season. He is the guy. So, who else do we have? Let's get into some returning characters. Right off the bat, Christine Moon and Hitoshi are both returning. These characters are pretty straightforward, although they're very different from where they were in Season 1. I'll say Christine Moon is a bit of a mess. She's lost the love of her life, and it was her fault. And she's finally gotten the thing she thought she wanted her entire life, and yet it wasn't worth it in the end to her. And that's where she left off in season 1. And 3 years removed from that, she's not doing much better. We'll put it that way. She's a mess. And Hitoshi is sort of the same. He is trying his best to hold her together, her sort of quasi-father, and it breaks his heart to see what's happened to her. And he feels partially responsible for it. Maybe he could have done something to stop it. But also, he's reeling from the consequences of his choice in season 1. He chose to basically free the evil in his sword that he had been sworn to protect. And as a result, it's beginning to, peruse its influence onto him. Once that, as I mentioned in that first season, once that sword is pulled and once that demon is allowed into your head, it's really hard to get it out. Hitoshi is being corrupted by it throughout this season, and he's going to be very interesting in this season. He's one of my favorites. He's kind of a sleeper hit. He didn't get a lot of screen time in season 1. I hope to maybe give him some more in season 2, but he is a tertiary character this season. I just think he's cool. That's really all there is to it. Other returning characters. We've got Ghost Eye Morrison. He recently got a short. If you have not watched that on this channel, I would highly recommend watching it before watching the season. If you're planning on rewatching season 1, because it's been a long time before the season comes out, my recommended viewing order would be Ghost Eye, then season 1, then season 2. Or season 1, Ghost Eye, season 2. Both watchings of Ghost Eye give it sort of a different connotation. Ghost Eye is interesting. It recontextualizes his brief appearances in season 1. He is a fairly ubiquitous character in season 2. Much like Michael, he gets a lot more screen time here. And of course, if you've watched season 1, you would know that Ghost Eye is traveling now with John Weber. John Weber is not the same John Weber you saw in season 1. John Weber is a Harrowed. Now, I did get into harrowing and harrowed people in season 1 a little bit, but I didn't really talk too much about what it actually entails, because it hadn't really come up. The only harrowed we really encounter are, the Black Angel and Ghost Eye Morrison. And both of those characters are kind of, it's not exactly clear what their situation is. What is a harrowed? If you've never played Deadlands, the RPG, the way harrowing in that game works is every time a character dies, if you've played a role-playing game, you understand characters die, they stay dead forever unless something bizarre happens, like they're resurrected. But when you play Deadlands, if a person dies, player character dies in a way that doesn't involve like their whole body being blown apart, basically, if there's still a corpse left over, every person rolls a dice when they die. I don't think it's an optional thing. I think you have to do it in the rulebook. And if you roll a very unlikely roll, you become a harrowed. And what a harrowed is basically someone whose body has been reanimated by a demon, what they call a manito, an evil spirit. And that spirit attempts to wrestle control of your mind and your soul in the afterlife. And then if it manages to gain it, or sometimes doesn't manage to gain it, the manito basically takes control of your body. John Weber is not entirely John Weber now. He is harrowed at the end of that season. I revealed that. His eyes open up and he's got the creepy reflective eyes of a harrowed. He is still in there, but there's this demon, this creature in his body slowly taking control of his entire body, slowly taking control of his mind, slowly destroying his soul. And he has to fight to keep himself sane. And that's his main conflict throughout the season. His entire personality, his entire existence, his entire being is being erased by this dark, evil entity he made a deal with as a child. And it's unsettling. It attacks him in psychological ways. It doesn't attack him physically. It plays with his mind. It presents things that aren't there. John Weber is not able to trust what he sees. And Ghost Eye is trying to help him. Ghost Eye is sort of more experienced with this phenomenon, but Ghost Eye is a very different man than John Weber, and John Weber is much more sensitive to the machinations of the manito that's currently taking him apart. The conflict for John this season is, will his soul survive? Is he going to maintain any element of himself in the end, or will he be completely consumed by this evil that's infected his body? And that's sort of where he's at as a character. Now, you might be wondering how John Weber and Ghost Eye play into what I'm describing here. That's a good question. You'll have to watch. I'm not telling you. You think I'm just going to give you that information? No. Please. Please. My God, you people. Other villains. Other returning characters. We got a villain here. We've obviously got Stone. Now, Stone is an interesting character. He was revealed at the end of Season 1 and is featured heavily in the Ghost Eye short. Stone is he's the Doctor Doom of the Deadlands universe. He's the big bad guy. He's the most capable and powerful being in the universe. He is unfathomably evil. I actually there's things that they describe Stone doing in the lore book that are just shocking. Stone is one of the few people in the world that when a Manitou tried to take over his body, instead Stone took over the Manitou. He's that evil. That is what he has going on. This guy is sinister, he's powerful, and he's working towards some goal. He's working with other characters we've seen in the universe, other bad supernatural people. We encountered this in Season 1, Stone obviously working with the Lost Angels to do something. We're not really clear on that, but maybe throughout this season it will become more clear. What is clear is that Ghost Eye Morrison is trying his damnedest to kill Stone. Why, you'll have to watch the Ghost Eye short to find out. But also, what's going to happen when those two characters intersect with each other? It's going to be explosive, let's put it that way. Alright, so our last couple new characters are obviously Seymour Gloom and the rest of the Gloom family. There are a couple of them. And there's some people they employ. I'm not going to get into them. They'll get their own spotlight throughout the season. Seymour Gloom has his son, who's Harold Gloom, working basically to root out the cell that Michael works with, this sort of resistance movement. And Harold Gloom is something of a genius. Much like his father, but perhaps even more so. He's something like a savant. Born child genius. Super intelligent, super smart, super capable. And he has put his entire brain, his entire mind into destroying this movement that seeks to overthrow their family and take their city from them. And he is very capable in that, we'll put it that way. In addition to him, there's one other villain who sort of ties into a whole nother side of Deadlands we haven't really gotten into. So there's like a couple of major regions in Deadlands. There's the Mesa, the Maze. You've got the northern area with all the natives up there, the last bastions of the Native Americans and their strongholds and their battles, the Buffalo Hunters from the Deadlands lore. These people that sneak onto powerful Native American land and try to hunt their buffalo because their pelts are so valuable. And then you've got the main sort of like classic Wild West area, the City of Gloom, and then the last area is New Orleans and the Louisiana section of the Deadlands lore. And in Louisiana and that part of the lore, I really like it. I've been wanting to fit it in for a while, and so for Season 2 I had an opportunity to sort of give you a little look, a little hint at what's going on there. Season 2, in Louisiana, there is a different kind of magic, these old magics that exist there. They've had magic since before the Reckoning, since before the sort of magic reappeared in the West. There's some magic that's obviously existed in the Deadlands universe before that. We saw that a little bit with Christine Moon and her family, who have been cursed by a werewolf curse that's been basically come from France, where they came from originally. I believe it was France. That they've carried that home. So there's obviously magic that exists. In Louisiana, it's existed for a while in the form of voodoo, spirit whispering. And there is a character in the script. He has been brought in as a favor to Seymour Gloom because he is a specialist and a very dangerous man, specifically for handling magical, capable people and creatures of the supernatural. He's been brought in as sort of a bodyguard against the supernatural and the unusual because the Weird West is full of it. They call him the Spirit Whisperer. He's named for his title and what he does, and no one knows his real name. All they know is that he can indeed whisper to the spirits, and they whisper back to him too. He is able to do voodoo ritual magic, and he is a very unsettling character. We'll put him that way. He's a very... he's sinister. I wouldn't say this guy is evil, but he is in contact with some very evil beings, and they can lend him power if he asks for it, and gives them just a little bit of himself. To use his power, this guy basically cuts pieces of himself off as an offering to the spirits so that he can wield their power. Very creepy, very eerie. He's covered in scars and missing body parts because of it. And depending on how much of a sacrifice he's willing to make, he can do some pretty powerful shit. All right, and that's really it. A lot of shit happening this season, but a lot of it's already been set up in previous seasons. And a lot of it's going to make sense the more you get into the season, and you see where I'm going with this. The first episode is going to be an introduction to the city of Gloom and the new characters there. The more heroic side, or I guess the protagonist side of things. And I think as that goes on, you'll see how it's going to connect to some of the older stuff and what's sort of going on there. Anyway, yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this. I hope you're excited. I'm very excited to bring Deadlands back to you. I love Deadlands. I've always loved Deadlands, and so it's really fun for me to bring back an OG writing series for this channel. This is the second writing series I ever did, so it's fun to bring it back for season 2. Give me a little bit of time to finish the script. I think you're going to see Arcane episode 2. I wrote a good chunk of that on stream. So I think that'll be done pretty quickly. I think you'll probably see Justice League Dark before that. And I think maybe later this week, could it be possible that there's a second writing project? No, that would be... Put a pin in that. Something else that's been meaning to come out for a while. Maybe stay tuned on Friday or Saturday or whenever the hell I get it out. Anyway, I've been Bjorn. I'm going over to that there cantina or some shit, and I'm going to go drink a shot of whiskey like a good old cowboy, because I'm really in the Wild West, guys. We're really there. You can tell from this PNG back here. All right, I'll see you all in the next one. Happy trails.